Hi, welcome to Radio I. Stories about the people, places and ideas that shape contemporary culture. Stories from around the world and across the country. I'm Brent Clough, and this afternoon, a love story. Reflections upon being a tourist. A story about Japan. Well, more correctly, a story about an Australian man, a tourist, a traveller perhaps, who goes to Japan alone until his lover flies over, and then they travel around together. And then they come back to Australia, and they tell their story of their trip to Japan, his and her stories. Written and performed by Keith Galash and Virginia Baxter, with music by Robert Lloyd, it's a kind of documentary performance about Japan, about being a couple, and about being tourists. In a Tokyo hotel room, late at night, a man is tuning through the dial, searching for something familiar, searching perhaps for Australia-Japan, a love story.
It started when I got used to the sensation of feeling perpetually off balance in Tokyo. I actually stopped seeing a flat, misty, smoggy 828 square mile stuff with 12 million people, and I'd lose myself, deliberately lose myself in the narrow little streets immediately behind the big buildings and the freeways, and I'd get right among the fish shops and the tofu shops and the patisseries and the sweet bean shops. And I remember particularly liked walking in the twilight, watching the locals in their yukatas, which are a cotton summer kimono, clutching their plastic wash bowls and their flannels and their soap on the way to the sentos, the local bathhouses. Or in the middle of the day, I'd like to just watch men on trucks collecting old newspapers from suburban homes in exchange for toilet rolls, or buying a beer in the middle of a balmy night from a vending machine that said, "Thank you, arigato gozaimashita."
What, you fell in love with a vending machine, is that what you're saying?
No, not quite. Yeah, I kept thinking that a machine that dispensed beer in the street in Australia wouldn't last 5 minutes. Someone would kick it in and drink the contents. And so it was strange to feel very safe in a very big city.
Now, you were saying that you were falling in love with this city. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Someone said that Tokyo will soon be destroyed by an earthquake, but that it will rise again in exactly the same sprawling Asian manner, but that beneath that sprawl is a shape as old as the city itself. And I began to see Tokyo as having a real identity. I began to see it historically. And for the first time, I was suddenly really aware of the river Sumida. It was running directly under a freeway, and someone pointed out that, say, this freeway or that railway line runs exactly where a moat once ran spiralling out from the palace, and that these lines, these freeways, these railway lines, link the intensely social centres of Tokyo, and always have. And it's not a place with one centre. There are many centres, and once you see past the buildings to the intimate streets, and you see the past as continuous with the present, then it all makes really attractive sense, I think.
But would you say that Tokyo is an attractive city? I mean, it's not.
No, it's not attractive. It's quite ugly in some respects. But it is unique.
Some people say that it's a very Western-looking city. You sure you're not blindly infatuated?
Look, Tokyo has resisted all major attempts at Western town planning. I mean, after the Meiji Restoration and after the Great Earthquake in the 1920s, it's a unique city. I mean, it's bizarre. I mean, I've never seen so many architectural styles in one place, and I'm not blind to its ugliness. But strange things happen. I was on a train, and I noticed after a while that the man standing next to me, a Japanese man, was dressed totally in the manner of an English country fisherman, from top to toe, all the gear. And he got off at the same station as me, and as we emerged into the hubbub of the streets, he asked me if he could practice his English on me, and I thought that was a nice way to meet people. And I finally got up the courage to say, "Where are you going fishing?" Because I said, it doesn't look like the river Sumida could sustain anything. And he pointed up to the top of a very tall building and said, "I am going fishing there." And it turned out that there are tanks on the top of that roof where, for a fee, you can go fishing. But you have to throw the fish back afterwards. Perhaps someone takes a photo of you with the fish.
Do you know what I think?
What?
I think you're besotted.
Well, it's 50-50, really. I stagger the streets of Tokyo, kind of oscillating between real claustrophobia on the one foot and exhilaration at the variety and the richness and the sheer unintelligibility of it all on the other.
So, would you say that you love Tokyo because she's exotic?
Well, yes, but no.
Yes and no. Do you know, that sounds like the scented bulldozer theory. Do you know that one? Is that the Japan you're attracted to?
The scented bulldozer?
Yeah, the scented bulldozer. It's like the sword and the chrysanthemum, you know, the theory that Japanese culture is made up of contraries, you know, shadow and light and cruel and kind, you know, and an appealing sort of schizophrenia.
It sounds like a schizophrenic theory to me.
Oh. This is Australia, Japan, a love story. We'll be right back.
Nodo karapo, hiekoemon tekste? Nodo karapo, hiekoemon tekta?
持ってきた缶コーヒーは熱する
新ファッションストレイジ3日から8日まで伊勢丹新宿店本館4階催し物場で開催。
I'm in a bit of a panic because, well, it's the noise. Tokyo noise is getting me down because I look at your photo and I don't quite recognize you. And I begin to think I've invented you, and then if I've invented you, who are we? I look at the map of Tokyo and that doesn't make much sense either. I'm not lost, but where do you start? Where's the center of Tokyo? I feel unstable. Tokyo is being torn down and rebuilt with every glance, and pile drivers simulate earthquakes. So I spend a lot of time in doorways before I finally get on a train with a million other people on the Yamanote line, a vast stretched circle of railway that links the cities of Tokyo. Ueno, Ikebukuro, Shinjuku, Shibuya, Shinagawa, and the Ginza near Tokyo Station. And I get off at Ueno, because on the map there's a green patch, Ueno-koen, a park along with a zoo and temples. I'm looking for silence, so I step off-centre in Ueno, and forget to look up from the map as usual and go the wrong way, into a market of dried fish, green tea, perfect fruit, welcomes, goodbyes and thank yous, and back onto the street, sirens screaming every 2 minutes, angry men yelling politics through loudspeakers on trucks, and music gusting out of department stores on waves of icy air into the 90% humidity, up against the cry of the vendors of sweet potatoes, ramen, oden. I find the park. I'm still trying to see you, but girls giggle in groups of 10 and cameras click and whir and stare and click in chorus with the cicadas, who must have their own microphones and amplifiers. I mean, why not? Everyone else does. The zoo's closing, belting out Old Lang Syne on a xylophone, louder than trains and hyenas, cicadas and politics. And you? You're in Usa Terraria. And you'll join me in Tokyo in 6 weeks' time, whoever you are. In a tiny temple in Ueno-koen, Tokyo noise dissolves in hand claps and dropped coins and paper prophecies rustling on branches and Suzu bells tugged on fat ropes by people who come for split-second prayers. I sit, I sink, deliciously submerged in silence. Chinmoku. I sink, sleepily in love with coins and bells and paper and water as devotees wash their hands and clear their mouths for prayers. And I'm safe now from Tokyo noise and from myself, who's a crazy traveller who travels to be alone but who panics at loneliness, cut off from you. Who are you and have I invented you? I feel the air brush against me. I feel shadows. They breathe. They beat by me. With one eye open, I see big crows gliding right by me, and I recall that in Japan, being hit with crow droppings brands a person marked for disaster. Don't shit on me, I think. And they don't. For a moment, I see your face. In Japan, the gods are everywhere. The crows sit nodding, trains mumble into Ueno station. There are geese on Shinabazu Pond. The right wing harass the hieroglyphic streets. I lock my watch away so I won't count the minutes till you arrive in Tokyo. The zoo sings Auld Lang Syne. The heart strains to get out. There's a tear at the floodgate. But Saseki says, if you're crying, express your tears in 17 syllables, and you'll feel happy that you're a man capable of shedding tears. I'll find 17 syllables for this tear and for the shifting centre of you and me. But in the meantime, I've got the traveller's hunger to find something truly frightening for dinner. And you'd say,
Ask me my name.
what is your name?
Ask in Japanese.
Look, are we in Tokyo or in Kyoto?
What's the difference?
Well, Tokyo people don't like that touristy version of Japanese. They'd rather you speak English.
I love hearing tourist Japanese. Look, I'm smiling. Patiently.
Smiling, smiling. Smiling could mean you're confused or embarrassed.
Oh, ask me my name.
What is your name?
I'm scratching my head.
Head scratching. You're very confused according to the book.
Ask in Japanese.
東京行きです途中の停車駅は京都、名古屋です
Ask in Japanese. Go on, ask him his name.
Hajimamashita. Watakushi. Taxi. Watashi wa Keith desu. Anata wa danata desu ka?
He's crying.
Oh, crying. The book says he's happy.
No, the tears are flooding out.
Here it is. It must be Ureshinaki. Happy crying.
People are staring at us. I think we should go.
Oh, this is fascinating. Nice to meet you. Sayonara. Sayonara.
She arrived at Narita and he was there to meet her. And she hardly recognised this relative stranger she'd known now for 5 years. "You've changed," she said. And he said, "What have you done to your hair?" While she was doodling round the luggage claim section, she caught him from the corner of her eye, staring at her. Well, she was doing the same, glancing at his ears and wrists for clues, the back of the neck. They slid into Tokyo on the Skyliner. Landscape shoots past. At the hotel, he explains the routine. "Got it? Yeah. Is there a drink?" she said. Not until 3 when the fridge opens." Where are we supposed to sleep? With our feet out the window? Where is the window, by the way? The room's so small. God, it's small. "Well, you just try finding a room in Tokyo this time of year. You just try." All right. That's when flat things appear to sleep on and hard things for your head. The whole experience reminded me of trying to describe an indescribable pain to an unfamiliar doctor, and the room is full of that orthopedically correct furniture, you know, that you kneel on. And he said, "I'll show you around. In a minute." I dreamed, running, woke in a panic, sweating. There was an awkward attempt at lovemaking from memory, both of us listening for something. And then I said, "Where's the shower?" And you said, "There's a bath, but you share." "Oh yes, who with?" "All the ladies on this floor and the one below." "This bathrobe thing here is your yukata," you said, "and the slippers are outside the door, and for thank you, you say, 'Arigatou gozaimashita,' got it?" Well, with my one word and in my yukata, I'm hardly prepared for the public bath at the Ogaiso family hotel. I'm back in that doctor's surgery again. Here are 6 or 7 women bathing. Their bodies are lean and small. Even the older women, smooth and slim. Little girls staring. I feel like the caterpillar that got lost on the lettuce and ended up in the salad. But I watched how they did it from the corner of my eye. In Japan, you learn again to wash yourself, and you wonder how you ever felt really clean before. I found my way to the water and I sank. It was like your first bath. First the fright, then the pleasure. And then we went out into the steam and the yellow sky and the Tokyo crowd where you get carried along and your eyes won't focus on anything, and it's so hot. "So this is sashimi, is it?" I said. "I'm not complaining. I just said it's like eating blindfold." Jesus. Things floated out in front of me. Kanji, knives, heat, noise, and I'm staring with my mouth open, gasping for air, and there wasn't any. And you said, "You're doing it." "What? What? What am I doing? What? What do you want?" you said. "Twigs and kotos? This is a modern city. You're seeing imaginary things. There is no yellow sky and the crowd's not that bad." Well, in the public park outside Ueno Zoo, there's a swampy pool with a few too many lotus leaves and insects and zoo smells. And you're telling me the history of the area in very, 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 very fine detail, and I swallow an insect. This is my first real food in Japan. Nah, to me, this looks like the wrong end of town. Looks like it's been looked at too much over too many years and it's drained of everything, like the sky. There's no colour in the sky. It's all pollution. And you're saying, look, sumo wrestlers and noodle vendors, see? And I can't see a thing because I've blanked it all out. When your expectations are false and you're faced with things you don't want to see, you see a blank. It's not the pollution. Just look for a while, you said. Just see for yourself. So I did, and that's when I heard the koto music. Palm facing downwards, moving up and down from the wrist. What were we supposed to do?
I looked it up in the book.
It looks to me like he's shooing us away.
No. Here it is. Palm moving down from the wrist. He wants us to go with him. See, beckon like this.
Oh, no, don't you do it. You're confusing him. He's scratching his head.
Head scratching. Page 5.
Oh, forget the book. He's crossed his index fingers. Should I
fingers.
bow or what should I do?
No, that means people quarrelling. God, this book is great.
Look, now he's folded his arms and he's looking down. He's given up on us. Do we go or what?
No. Folding the arms simply means that a person is thinking hard.
No, is that beckoning again?
Hey!
What are you waving your arms around for?
Hey, banzai!
Oh, you look ridiculous.
Hey, wakarimasu, we understand.
What are you doing now?
Well, I'm jumping up and down in the air and waving my arms above my head and shouting, banzai! You know, it's the victory sign, success, communication.
See this? I'm waving my hand from the wrist
Right.
and I'm turning and I'm walking in the opposite direction,
Yeah.
which means that I'm leaving and saying goodbye.
Hey! What? Index fingers either side of the head, just a tick. Index fingers either side of the head. Gotcha. Indicates that a third person is angry. Hey! Banzai!
This is Australia, Japan, a love story. It's 2200 Tokyo time. We'll be back.
これが私のいい気持ち。
スイッチポンの音感自動コントロールでいつもあなた好みの爽やかさ。
いい部屋加減だね。
三菱エアコン。
In the smallest restaurant in Tokyo, sitting at one of the 10 stools at the bar, and the man behind the counter is glugging down Suntory scotch from a tumbler with tea, and we've eaten the salt fish with its tail curled up, and the tofu and miso and the rice, and we're just sitting there at the bar with the Japanese and the TV going, the baseball on, and we're thinking, amongst it, with the people in this simple cafe where the food's good and fresh, not too expensive. And we stopped talking to each other because, well, we were experiencing a sort of separate kind of pleasure, the simple joys of travel and each time we spoke in English, it would just remind us who we were, and we'd just draw attention to ourselves. And it's nice to feel that sort of sense for a moment that you're one of the crowd in Tokyo. And so we stare mostly at the baseball on the TV and the man behind the counter who cooks and drinks and smiles at us when he thinks of it. There is a lot of smiling going on. And then someone scores a home run or something, and the man behind the counter jumps up in the air and pours himself another shot of the Suntory, and this is the one that tips him from just sober to half tipsy, and he notices at that moment that we've finished eating, and he clears away our dishes and he looks at us and he walks in a crooked line to the teapots and picks one up and fills it up with steam and brings us the tea. We nod our heads. And then he offers us some small black things from a dish. And I take one and I put it on the end of my tongue, and it tastes to me like licorice. And the man behind the counter is laughing and indicating to us that he expects you to try the thing as well. And so you do, and you screw up your nose. And he laughs even more because, well, this was more the response he was after. And then he brings another bowl of rice. And he puts another one of the black things down in front of us, and he says something that seems to mean, put the black thing on the rice. And so you oblige. And by now the others have all lost interest in the baseball on the TV. They'd rather watch you trying to taste what this man is trying to say to you. And they're giggling into their noodles, and we keep smiling through all this because, well, you see, we think we've stumbled on a little something extra here, you know, a bonus morsel of the real Japan. And the man behind the counter is jumping up and down, and he's pointing at the tea and the rice like a madman. And you think he's saying, put the black thing on the rice with the tea. And so you do, and you taste it, and you say, well, it's fishy. It has a fishy taste, and you say, and you dribble. Now, we were talking to a couple of German tourists outside a taxidermist in the Ginza, and they said that what we'd experienced could very easily be explained by a couple of popular Japanese expressions. Now, one of them goes, Onaji ningen na no ni, which means human beings are all the same, but
the Japanese.
And the other one goes, Yappari Nihonjin nai do, which means, well, unless one is Japanese.
It was a Tuesday, hot, and she was sorry.
What's she saying?
She says she's sorry.
What's she sorry for?
Well, she's got a room.
Great.
But she's sorry it won't suit us.
Why not? The room last time was okay. Didn't she like the gift we gave her?
Well, she loved the gift, and she's sorry about that too. Well, she just made some tea for us.
Green tea? Oh, lovely.
Well, she's sorry about that too.
This is ridiculous. You're not translating correctly.
I am. She just said she's sorry about the last time we stayed here.
We had a good time the last time we stayed here. Did we do something wrong?
Well, she keeps saying that she's sorry, but she looks happy to see us. I mean, she's smiling. I mean, that is a smile, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a smile. You must have got it wrong. Give me the book.
No, look. Oh, look, see. Sumimasen. Sorry. Shitsui shimasu. Sorry.
You're right, I'm sorry.
Oh. She's asking us to follow her.
What, so we have got the room?
Yeah, we've got the room.
Oh, get rid of that book. It's another language.
キャレーヌは車の中の嫌な匂いを吸っていい香りを出すの。キャレーヌ買ったし車はあるし。あとは免許か？招集と方向の。キャレーヌ。
He buys a calculator, and he buys a fan. And the hot yellow sky rains on him. 100 brisk vendors appear out of nowhere, and for practically no yen at all, he buys a plastic umbrella. He's after a geisha, but, well, he hasn't got the dough, but someone friendly points out a sex show where naked women line the stage with their legs wide open for inspection. And that's it. And, well, he just doesn't know. One hand on his calculator, umbrella up, not erect, just curious, swiping up the humidity with his fan, he traipses the hieroglyphic streets from bar to tiny bar in the pink and purple night. The bars are full of Tokyo salarymen, lulled between work and home, chuckling like children. And the hostesses rub up to you, and you pay to be soothed, to be praised, pampered, mothered, to touch a breast. Even in the no-pan kisser, the no-panty bars, a breast will seize the eye, the hand, the lips, yen. It costs extra. The mama-san records each touch on her calculator, and he calculates breasts are significant. Breasts are expensive. The bars are alien and choke with regulars until he finds one with some Australian girls on a working holiday. We only work the nice bars, they chorus, sporting gold wristwatches from businessmen. We draw the line, except for a little rubbing under the counter. A bit of masturbation, a little prostitution, he ventures. Oh, no, they say, we draw the line, Mum'd kill us. And what do you want here anyway, eh? Japanese pussy. Well, you can talk. You're all the bloody same. He ditches the umbrella in a bin full and he catches a train. 1,000 mouths sway wide asleep, 1,000 heads buried in comic books the size of telephone directories nod. And he lurches a little as he tries to read over his shoulder and grows giddy in the heat and the smooth sway of the train as he glimpses a cold broadsword rubbed flat against hot labia, and he blinks and he squints at the faces of tormented ecstasy and the calm of the gentle comic book reader. He staggers off the train into the main hall of the Matsuya department store. And in that hall there's a Bakematsu exhibition, 19th century woodblock prints of slow strangulation, exquisite rape, hangings, botched decapitations, turn the stomach turn-ons, and he stumbles out into a downpour, fanning himself with his calculator. Don't go to Japan, they all said. It's westernised. It's modernised. Well, yes, he thinks. But no, he thinks, feeling fearfully turned on and mightily exposed.
You kept saying,
Hi. So desu ne. Hi. And you said, haven't you got something better to say to him? And I said, shh, look, it's Aizuchi, okay? Hi. Oh, so desu ka. Hi. It's funny. Stop talking.
Ha! You overdid it. Too many highs.
Look, it's Aizuchi, a verbal social lubricant. A constant flow of reassuring sounds and words to show that you're listening. And if you don't use it, they panic.
But one too many highs, you see. You broke his rhythm.
Did I?
Yeah. Sounded like you wanted him to stop.
I did not, and how would you know?
It's in the book.
Ah, so desu ka.
Hi.
第16回東京音楽祭
Tell them the one about the shoes.
Not now.
She said about...
What are you going to say?
Well, if I could just say on your
I
behalf
hate
that
that.
she was depressed in Tokyo. Isn't that what you said?
Well, that's part of it. You've got part of it right. But what I said was more...
You hated being looked at in the street. Isn't that it?
Look, just because I told you that doesn't mean it's yours to tell.
All I want you to do is tell them the story about the shoes. You do it really well. You'll love the way she tells this story. Okay, I'll tell them. She was...
I was.
No, we were...
I was.
And you say?
I say... These don't look like the shoes that I want. These lacquered shelves with silk straps and bells on. These are things to be looked at or eaten from. These are not things for feet, are they? In Comme des Garçons, it's the winter of black on black again. 3 black shirts and 1, 2, 3, 4 black skirts, and that's all there was in the shop. Looked like they'd been painted onto the concrete like someone had spilled ink. Black knife pleats and pants laid out flat like they'd been run over by a truck, and the floors were made of car tyre.
What about the shoes? Tell them about the shoes.
I'm telling them about the shoes. What do you think I'm doing? Moving my mouth around. The shoes that year had no fastenings. They seemed to be held on or wrapped around somehow, meant to fit like gloves. Not me, though. I was in a panic.
You never told me you're in a panic.
Whose story is this? I looked sideways for a moment and I caught a man 8 feet tall on stilt shoes running through the rain like I can't think what. A man trips in wearing pink scuffs, borrowed I suppose, little heels, hip swivels in. Quite fetching really. Another one for the collection. And then I see it in the Tokyo Times. Big shoes, Asakusa. And an hour later we're getting ourselves lost in the Asakusa district, the theatre district. We light on a salaryman and wave the address under his nose, and I point at my feet. And he says, ah. And he looks at his feet. And he says, ah. And he looks at the air. And he says, ah. And he moves his finger to his nose. And he takes off. He streaks ahead of us in his squeaky little wingtips with the heels trodden down. Well, it's the only way in this city of 100 changes of footwear daily. 1, 45, 3, 97. Number the buildings as they build them. And here we are at Big Shoes, Asakusa. And in the window is a shoe that's at least 4 feet long, at least, with enough shoelace to tie up Tokyo. Oh, no way, no way, no way, I'm backing away. Not that big, I didn't mean that big. This place is for giants. And you say, snap out of it. And you shake my shoulders from side to side, and you squeeze my face in your fingers, and you're yelling at me, just look inside. Just see, we've come all this way. And I'm standing there, rigid, glued to the pavement, while the passers-by are stopping to stare at the gaijin outside the giant's shoe shop. They are clopping past in their clip-clops and their flip-flops, sprinting along in their Italian loafers, their French moccasins, pigeon-toed in their Adidas, mincing along in those precious little white socks with the toes, glaring at the gaijin outside the giant's shoe shop. And you said, come inside, come inside. And I only went inside, ducking my head as usual, to get away from them outside. I remembered at that moment that someone had told me that a barefoot woman carrying her shoes in this country carries some sort of sexual connotation. God knows why they're so interested in my feet. I back away from the street and inside Big Shoes Asakusa, I think, oh well, I'll throw away the shoes and I'll wear the boxers. An old man comes towards me with a giant's ruler and he measures my big foot and he looks disappointed. Well, he was expecting something a bit more grotesque, I suppose, than this size 8, and he disappears for a few years and he comes back with a nice pair of red sandals. I say thank you very much and I'm halfway out the door when he calls me back. He's got a knife to cut the heel strap to exactly the right size for my foot and to hand me a stick of Lottie Free Zone chewing gum. I drag my big feet out of Big Shoes Asakusa, looking down all the time at my new big shoes, like you do with new shoes, like when Rosemary has to look at that baby, even though she knows it's going to look like the devil. And when I'm far enough away from Big Shoes Asakusa, I turn around. And as I turn the 45 degrees, at exactly the moment that I turn, the huge crowd that had gathered outside the shoe shop disappears into the usual Tokyo moving crowd. And as I turn my back on the shoe shop, every shoebox in Big Shoes Asakusa falls down at exactly that moment, falls down on the old man who's still there holding the knife. Is that the story you wanted me to tell?
Well, not quite. I mean, you left some things out, and I've never heard that ending before.
Whose story is this?
What's our story?
It's my story, and it changes all the time, but it's the same story. I'm lost. Where's the railway station?
Dunno.
Where's the post office?
Dunno.
Don't know much, do you?
No, but I'm not lost.
It was like this. Stop walking. I'm exhausted.
Just a bit further. Next to Chome, I think.
No, we're lost.
Not according to the map.
The map. That's the trouble. You never look at anything but the map. As soon as we arrive anywhere, you've got your head in the map working out how to get back. How many maps of Tokyo have we been through now? Admit it, we're lost. Let's ask someone for help.
No.
There are millions of helpful, friendly Japanese out there. You only have to ask one of them. Only one of them for assistance. They're famous for it.
I'm tired of the ritual. I am sick of trying to speak a language I do not understand.
Excuse me?
No, don't.
Excuse me,
You'll
Cinema
upset
said.
someone.
Excuse me,
Listen,
do you
I'll
speak
do the
English?
talking.
English? Skoshi English. Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the Kinokuniya bookshop? Oh, thank you very much. Oh, she's going to take us there. Come on. Let's follow her. Come on.
I want to go home.
Do you remember escaping Tokyo? Do you remember dangling in the air in that cable car over Miyajima?
Why do you keep bringing that up?
He was so scared that little drips of perspiration were dripping down the inside of his arm and plopping onto the handrail.
Hey, that's my perspiration you're talking about. Why were we cranking our way up that awful mountain anyway? To see monkeys or something? Another tourist trap? It was her idea.
His knuckles were white. White. He was so scared that we'd fall, that the cable would break. I was fearless that day.
She was foolish.
I was fearless. We stepped down from the car and looked over the edge to see where we'd been. The cable car went back down the slope, loaded up with all these tiny little children. I was thinking about how far we were above sea level.
I was thinking about the drop and all those little children.
At the top, he took charge again, secured the brochure, purchased the map, exchanged the tourist dollar for the tourist trap drinks and the inflated ice cream, and I was heading off, up the path. We rested where it said, rest here. We were sweating from the heat. This heat had a sound that it made like hissing and ringing in your ears.
What's up there? We better not go up there.
Why not?
She was heading up the path like someone was pushing her along.
He was lagging behind. I was way ahead, my skin tingling from stings of insects and leaves and just the heat itself. We met halfway up where a rock caught our eye. This is the one eye that we share as a couple for things like this. One eye between us, like Cyclops.
Stand there. No, further to the left. A bit further. There, that's it. Stay there.
Another silly snap.
And she ran ahead again. What's got into you today? Yesterday you were dragging your heels round Hiroshima.
I was almost to the top when I saw the little shrine. I sniffed the incense. I stopped myself. I stopped myself from taking the few steps to the top. I slowed down. I slowed down so we could look at this together. Look.
It was a well with a bamboo ladle balancing on the edge.
And I lifted the ladle and I poured a thin stream of water across your wrists. And then you did the same for me.
I flew to Tokyo for a holiday. I chose Japan because I heard it was the most foreign of all countries. And I was tired of Australia. Australians only think they're optimistic. I was so happy to be leaving. I wished it was for good. On the plane, my excitement unaccountably turned to anxiety. Had I left the gas on? I hadn't, but... Irritated with my uneasiness, I braved the melting streets of Tokyo near my hotel. I kept feeling my pockets over and over for my wallet and passport. I checked too many times. A van stopped nearby, blaring music and announcements from a loudspeaker. On this bleakly hot Sunday afternoon, 50 pedestrians formed a neat queue to receive free samples of orange juice. What was I feeling? Alone? Lonely? Romantic solitude? What had I left undone?
I'm in love, seduced by seaweed embracing rice, longing for shabu shabu, kitsune udon, tatsuta age, wasanabe, yosanabe, mizutaki, yakitori, takanamushi, sushi. I'm hungry for Japan, and the Japanese say that dumplings are better than cherry blossoms when you're hungry.
Australia-Japan, a love story, written and performed by Virginia Baxter and Keith Galash, with music composed by Robert Lloyd, and performed by Robert Lloyd and Natasha Mozanin, produced for radio by Tony McGregor. You're listening to Radio I, right here on Radio National. I'm Brent Clough, and in the program next week, another journey to Japan, another couple and another love story, a very beautiful documentary called The Heart of the Journey.
Hold on. I had read books and have seen documentaries about the Japanese pearl divers in Broome, but I had not seen or heard of anything that documented the second and the third generation of these men, the children between the Japanese pearl divers and the local women, the local Aboriginal women. I began seeing these people and photographing them.
Lovely.
Lucy and I called them the Japaringles.
Yeah.
I got to year 7 and a girl there said, you're Japanese. And I looked at her and I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And at that time, my mother was a younger woman then, and I did not dare question anything what she said. But I remember one day I got really angry and started kicking, and then she just told me then that the man I knew as my father is not my father.
Lucy Dan and her friend photographer Mayu Kanamori on a journey of the heart from Broome in Western Australia to a fishing village in Japan. The Heart of the Journey. That's next week on Radio I on Saturday afternoon. And in our Sunday edition of the programme, tomorrow night at 8:30, more brief encounters, dreams and confusions in Japan hybrid wrestling. That's Radio I tomorrow night here on Radio National. That's it for the Eye today. Production's been by Diane Dean and Ron Minogue. Stay tuned. Poetica's next.
Across Australia, this is Radio National.